How do you want to start this?
Just go for it, man.
That's how it starts. We go
Welcome
back
to
to your house. You know, do it again.
Welcome to ROFLcast.
Do it again.
Welcome to another edition of ROFL.
Feeling.
Welcome to ROFLcast.
Now in Dutch.
Guten Schweigenhagen.
Oh my god, I tricked you into being racist. ROFLcast!
Bad influence to begin with. Mid-roll upon it's making sense. When they say yes, happy songs, they say
Intro. Welcome everybody to a brand new edition of ROFLcast. I am your host, Achilles. Joined as always as the dig to my Reddit, the Mega Blocks to my Lego, the Yogenfrews to my Froyo. Shane, absolutely Admiral Lemons, full legal name. What up?
Hey, man. How's it going?
You know what's funny? We've been doing this for a long time, Shane, and people have thought your name was Shane with an N, not realizing it's been Shame. Like that thing that they shouted behind Cersei during Game of Thrones for like the last 20 years.
Or it could just be Doc Hollywood.
He's a doctor. He lives in Hollywood. What is a better name? Where did we even get the doctor from?
Well, I think it all stems from the fact that we were recording a podcast one time and I was using my phone during the podcast, and one of our previous co-hosts started calling me Hollywood because I wouldn't put my phone down. So then it became Hollywood, and I was like, well, we need something more than just Hollywood, so it became Doc Hollywood.
It still doesn't explain the doc.
No, not in any way, shape, or form, but I'll stick with Hollywood. The only problem with that is...
That's how you tell stories. You should write the Mummy screenplay.
Probably be better than the Mummy.
Anything would be better than the movie. We have a lot of things to talk about today on ROFLcast. But where do you want to start? Would it be PewDiePie is racist? The movie is actually good. What we liked of the summer of 2017. The big news about Star Wars. Sex robots. The minimum wage. Actually, we're saving that for Shane's boring bullshit corner. And that's what we're calling your segment. Taxes. What's it going to be? Or the iPhone? You get to pick.
Let's start with the Star Wars news.
Ooh, Star Wars. So, do you want to be the one that breaks this?
Oh, no, you go for it.
Okay, so JJ Abrams is returning as director for Star Wars Episode 1X. I think 1X is the ancient Hebrew language, because he's a Jew, for the next one.
I think it just means 9.
Oh no! We actually have a number for 9. It's the 9 number. It's an upside down 6. That is not an upside down 6. That looks like a guy who's dead and his mouth is straight across, turned sideways the other way, like his eyes are an X.
Right. Sorry. Yes. Okay.
Oh, does this mean Star Wars Death? Episode Death?
It may be. I don't know, but I'm still going to go with my gut instinct, which is that it's a Roman numeral 9.
We are breaking down a lot of theories today about Star Wars on ROFLcast. It's going really well.
Deep.
So the deal is done. The guy who directed the first one is coming back to direct another one, because you can't trust another director to direct something that you've already had planned out. See, what happened is that JJ Abrams went in when Disney was like, hey, we want to buy Lucasfilm, but we realize George Lucas is crazy, but we want to make more of these because people are cashing in on nostalgia. And JJ Abrams is like, stealing shit and equating it to my own is what I do best. Please watch Alias. La Femme Nikita, that's what I thought. So he goes in there, he tells the guys, he's like, listen, I have a whole idea for Star Wars. This is what we can do. This is how it sets up all the other movies. This is why people will like it, because it's going to be the exact same movies, remade over again, shot for shot, with the same beats, just updated for modern times. And if anyone calls us on it, we will say, oh, we're just updating the old movies for the new fans. Because for some reason, children who watch paper fucking animation on Peppa Pig will watch Star Trek remastered, or Star Wars remastered, and be like, oh, you know what? It's not really believable with that Tauntaun. I could see some aliasing on the CG. Yeah, no, they're not going to give a fuck. All right. This is just a deliberate cash grab for them to cash in on people's nostalgia by repackaging the same old shit. And because JJ Abrams had that vision, they were like, oh yeah, this is the vision that makes us the most money. So then they pretended to hire a bunch of other directors and were like, hey, we're making our own Star Wars universe, just like Marvel. JJ Abrams at the helm, just like Kevin Feige. And this is what we want to do. And everyone's like, yeah, cool, great. And when they get there, they're like, wow, this is the same stale, recycled shit. Because they hired people with talent accidentally. And when they found out about that, they're like, oh, this is how we want to change it. And that's why we constantly see directors falling off these movies. You know, these movies being hard recuts, like with Rogue One. There was a scene where not Dog Walker, those are the AT-ATs. What are the smaller ones with just 2 legs?
ATSTs?
ATSTs were coming through this one little village area and like blowing shit up. But instead they cut that, which was in the trailer. They cut that scene and had the main character running to save a tiny Asian girl who wasn't introduced earlier, was just there to be saved for 2 seconds. Like they are so deliberately doing these things. It is no wonder JJ Abrams is doing that, because they can't rein in another director to just follow the fucking thing and just do their goddamn job. Because everyone's going to treat Star Wars like it's their biggest movie ever and going to want to put their own flavor on it, make it interesting, and Disney's not willing to risk that.
No, they're doing these movies by committee. That's how these are being done. This is a committee of people that are choosing what's going to be in these films, how they're going to be made. And, you know, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars that are going to be spent on the production of these films. So they have to ensure that it hits all the certain beats, all the certain moments. It needs to have all these things that, you know, they would classify as, this is what makes a Star Wars film, with air quotes. Like they need to, you know, that's how they view these, right? Like this is just a movie by numbers more so than a movie by like heart, or a movie by like having some sort of emotional integrity in being able to tell some big story inside of the Star Wars universe. And that's one of the challenges we're going to find with a lot of these Star Wars films. But at the same time, it's like, I could probably say that if we got to see what Rogue One would have been without the reshoots, it probably would not have been great.
Would have been great.
It would probably not be great.
Why?
The reason being is that, you know, they wouldn't have added the things they added if they weren't required in terms of making it a compelling storyline.
No, they were trying to make it
give
less
their characters
dark.
more likable, or a variety of other things.
Well,
like
they didn't work on your likability at all. But they wanted these movies to be more family friendly and less dark. So they wanted to make a movie.
Dude, they killed everyone in the end of Rogue One.
Dies.
Spoilers.
Yeah. They wanted to make that less dark. This is the kind of logic that we're fucking dealing with.
They killed them all. There's no, what do you...
Yeah, but the journey to get there was very, very dark and moody. I mean, you look at the director and you see, like, you know, Gareth Edwards is a really, really good director, and he's done some really moody, scary stuff, like Monsters, you know, Shadow of the Moon, Godzilla. He's a dark, moodier guy. That's just the type of shit that he makes. And they knew that when they hired him.
Yeah, but
they did everything they could to sterilize that and try to make it look all Disney-fied.
Well, and that's the same thing with Phil Lord and Chris Miller. It's like, why would you hire these guys that are known for, yes, they are awesome directors in what they do, but that they don't make a movie by numbers. They're not, you know, Brett Ratner. They're not going to just point the camera where you say and do it. They're going to make it their own, and they're going to, you know, make it as compelling and as interesting and as amazing as they can. And it's kind of an interesting thing. It's like, on the one hand, I would love to see that Han Solo movie as done by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, it's this question that I'm sure Kathleen Kennedy asks herself, which is this still Star Wars? How do we define what a Star Wars film is? What keeps it in this universe and, you know, has all of those beats and things it needs to hit? But, you know, I wouldn't disagree with the fact that they need to start doing something different, because it's going to get stale. You know,
it already is, man. It was stale after the first one.
It's going to start to get really stale, especially if they keep on just, you know, pounding these out without having deeper themes or different things going on. You know, that's
what happened to Iron Man.
Well, yeah, by the second Iron Man was kind of a atrocity, but I mean,
kind of.
In terms of, like, you know, if you look at
Square, kind of an atrocity, Shane. Shame.
No, Jesus. But in terms of like, okay, let's compare the Star Wars universe to the Marvel universe.
No, I don't want to.
Because that's how we need to start to think of these, right?
More wine.
But the difference is between the two, though, is that the Marvel universe has their own characters that already have certain defined characteristics and different things about them. Yes, in a lot of cases,
Iceman is gay.
Yes, in a lot of cases, you have some characters, their character traits are very similar to other characters, but at the same time, the Ant-Man film feels very different than the first Iron Man film, and the second, the second Captain America film feels very different from the first Thor film. And there's a lot of different stories that are being told. Yes, they're all pretty safe. They're not like breaking new ground in terms of like filmmaking outside of some of the CGI. But at the end of the day, you have a lot of different characters that are, telling these different stories. Whereas with Star Wars, it's just this one, like it's the Empire and the Rebels, and we just keep seeing the Empire.
Keep referencing the original
Rebels.
trilogy and be like, remember berries? We can't show you a new uniform or a new ship. Remember berries?
Well, like if you want to make a film interesting, it needs to have charismatic characters that you like, that you care about, that you want to go on whatever journey it is that you go with them. And I don't mean that for any film, like
or the opposite, like the hard opposite.
Well, but I mean, in these types of movies, you want to, again, like you're going on, like these aren't necessarily sci-fi. These like tend to be more fantasy style movies, like the stuff with family and princesses and all these types of things. It's just this certain type of movie that they're too scared to go outside of, right? Like they don't want to break out of that. And they tried a little bit with Rogue One, but in my personal opinion, Rogue One was not very good.
I liked it. I'm actually really excited for this new movie. I don't give a fuck if it's rehashing on nostalgia and cashing it in. I'm buying it. I think it's stylized. I think it looks great. I'm actually excited for it. That was a huge bait and switch. Fuck y'all. Who needs expectations on ROFLcast? Please never. No, I'm so sorry. I am sorry I went through that.
The next episode, or are you talking about the Han Solo film, or which of these franchise movies are you excited for?
For Star Wars 9 being directed by JJ. I love JJ. I mean, Lost is one of my favorite series ever. I like his Mission Impossible movies. I think he's a fun director. I know what they're doing, and I know why they're doing it. And if this is the best I'm going to get, I'll enjoy it, and then I can just always read the extended universe novels if I want something more interesting.
Well, they said it, that first one that JJ Abrams did was extremely well done. The characters were fun. The characters were interesting. Yes, it might be a rehash of stuff from, the original Star Wars movie, but
we
they
did a 3-hour review on that, and you convinced me it wasn't good.
I didn't convince you it wasn't good.
You brought up a lot of things. I was like, you're right. That wasn't good.
There was a lot of like plot issues and stuff that I was like, it's
you
kind of.
You convinced me not to like it. Now you're telling me you like that fucking movie. We did 3 hours about why that movie's bullshit.
I didn't say it was bullshit for 3 hours, but I mean, it has its problems, but it was still overall well done.
It was a fun movie. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, exactly. It was a really fun movie. That to be honest, like that line right there is the reason why I have issues with Rogue One, is because I can't say that was a fun movie.
Yeah, but it had the world's hottest girl playing the lead, and I was looking at her and remembering her in Worst Witch, and it brought up a lot of memories for me, and yeah. It meant a lot. But okay, so there is good news that JJ Abrams is returning to director's chair, but there's also really bad news. The person writing the film is Chris Terrio, and for those who don't know who Chris Terrio is, he's responsible for Batman versus Superman. But he's also responsible for Argo, so I have no idea how to feel about him.
Why was he already on the project before JJ came back?
No, he just got hired on. He did the screenplay for Argo, then he wrote Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, and now he's the writer of Justice League and Justice League Part 2 with, what's his name, Zack Snyder.
What?
Now he's writing Star Wars 9, so have fun, I guess.
What? I don't understand.
You watch Argo, you're like, this is a beautifully crafted movie. Super well written. Really, really love this film. And then you watch Batman vs. Superman, and you're like, this is also a movie.
Well, he didn't do the screenplay for Batman v Superman.
No,
he
he
just
wrote
it. And I think that if you take a look at the writers on it, and including everyone, because there was also Goyer on Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know, Goyer, so frustrating. He had such a promising
Super
career.
inconsistent.
Yeah, like, some of his original stuff is just so good. Like,
Let's not get sidetracked, though, but yeah.
Batman Begins. And anyway,
Yes.
I digress.
You mentioned Batman Begins now. We have to talk about it.
No, okay. Either way, I'm excited for the new Star Wars. I think bringing back JJ is probably the best decision they could have made out of any of the directors they could have brought on to try to helm this film and to do it. And I think he'll do an awesome job. He's made for this role. He's already done the first, reboot, essentially. Sequel, reboot, whatever we want to call this. And I think it's going to be better for bringing in JJ over any other director.
But you know what? He's already done 3 big ones. Like, isn't it time for someone else to kind of get the spotlight?
What, the Star Trek and Star Wars?
Yeah, he
What
did
else?
2. Well, no, he did 2 Star Treks and a Star Wars, right? He did 3 big movies.
Yeah, well, I'm not overly impressed with
And
the
one of
second
them was
Star Wars.
almost good. But look what happens when you give someone like the Fast and the Furious director the fucking Star Trek movie. He makes the best Star Trek. Beyond was better than the other ones. Let's be honest.
Beyond was really, really good.
It was
That was
shit.
such
I mean,
a
it was
super fun
stupid.
movie.
That fucking plot point revolving around Beastie Boys was retarded, but I loved it. When they played Sabotage, I was like, lived with my hands up in theater, and be like, yeah.
No, it was a spectacle, right? And it was a great.
It was so fun.
Movie. Like, it was a great use of a song in a film, and I thought they did an incredible job with that Star Trek. They sort of brought it back to making it feel like how Star Trek used to feel back in the day, as opposed to. Yeah, I did like the first Star Trek. I thought it was an okay movie. Like, the problems that I had with it is some of the issues I have with a lot of JJ Abrams film, where the plots feel very sort of.
Oh, they have
like
plots in the JJ Abrams movies you've seen. Can you list those off?
The problems is, like, I feel like a lot of times they just kind of half write a plot. They'll get a story going, they'll make it super like actiony and super fun and all these things. They hit all the points, but it's just like your characters are either like lacking motivation or there's just some big plot holes. There were some problems with that first Star Trek movie, but at the end of the day, if a movie is done well,
can we address the problem of why a mining ship sat in space for 30 years, not doing anything, and then also had weapons that could defeat ships 30 years later?
That, sir, is the rub, and that's the issues. Those are the types of issues that I have with some of JJ's films. Is just, there's stuff where you have to do a lot of suspension of disbelief to really buy in. But again, if the movie's super fun, charismatic characters, you really like what's going on, you're sometimes your brain allows you to overlook those things. That's like the reason why. In a lot of films where they tend to be just spectacle, sometimes they get a pass. That's not to say I'm a fan of the Transformer films, but I mean, sometimes you're willing to do that if everything else is hitting all the beats and all the points that they need to. But I'm excited. I'm pumped for JJ.
You know what's funny is that this series is actually unintentionally following exactly what the original trilogy went through. Now, I would like you to name all the Star Wars movies with their full titles in order.
You're asking me to do this?
Yes, sir.
Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
No. Hold on. You have to do them in order of release, not by order of chronology.
Okay. Well, Star Wars: A New Hope, Star Wars: Empire Strikes Back.
Full titles for everything.
Star Wars Episode 4.
No, the original titles, not.
Well, the first original title was just Star Wars. There was no Episode 4. There was no A New Hope. So it was just Star Wars. The second was Empire Strikes Back. Obviously, it was the sequel to Star Wars. And then the third one was Star Wars: Return of the Jedi.
Holy fuck, you're good! Damn it, I was trying to get you.
No. And then the prequels, which so it's Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and the new one is Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Is it just The Force Awakens?
Yeah, they didn't put Episode 7 on it. It's just Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Oh, wow, interesting. Wow, you did a really good job. I'm really impressed. Okay, so here's the thing about the Star Wars movies. So the original Star Wars movie was directed by what's his nugget?
George Lucas did the first one.
George Lucas, and then the second one was directed by Irvin Kershner.
Kershner, yeah.
And then the third one was done by Richard Marquand, but was really directed by George Lucas behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
Apparently.
On that third one, apparently Lucas got back involved in a bigger way.
Yeah, he was apparently ghost directing it for the entire movie, which explains why Ewoks were in it. Okay, so they had a shitty director for the first one, which is why the first Star Wars sucks dick. They had
what? That's like one of the best Star Wars films is the first one.
Oh, whoa, incorrect. The first Star Wars is awful. It is an awful movie. It is a truly awful movie.
The best Star Wars film is Empire Strikes Back.
And then they made a great movie in Empire Strikes Back that pretty much held together the entire trilogy. It's like Spider-Man 2. The first Spider-Man sucks. People forget about that. Everyone says, oh yeah, except for that third one. No. It was just the second one. The first one sucks.
I never really liked Tobey Maguire.
Again.
I never really liked Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man.
I'm pretty sure Kirsten Dunst was sick during that entire shoot, so they replaced her with a cardboard cutout, and no one noticed. It is dog shit. But the second one's awesome, so then everyone forgot. But that's just like Star Wars. Star Wars, the first one was directed by a retard, and the movie sucked. And then it was accidentally good because of some other intervention and really good editors and secondary directors that actually shot all the iconic scenes that we actually care about that no one ever talks about, like how Lawrence Kasdan filled all that shit in. And then the second one was really good because it had a really good director. And then the final one sucked because it had a puppet director with George Lucas in charge. And that's what was going to happen with these movies. They hired a director who's fine, but he was making their drivel like to a T how they wanted their drivel in the first remake of Star Wars in The Force Awakens. Then on the second one, they got Rian Johnson, who's undeniably one of the best directors ever. Like he is fucking incredible. Well, I'm being over exaggerating now. Rian Johnson's really good at making movies. He's only made a couple. But the movie, he's like Tarek Singh. Like, he doesn't make a ton of movies, but the movies he does make are really, really good. I lied to you. He also made The Brothers Bloom. Okay, most of the movies he makes are really, really good. Like, Looper is incredible. My favorite episode of Breaking Bad, Ozymandias, was him. Brick is also a great movie. He's pretty picky about his projects. And he did the next Star Wars film that's coming out, Episode 8, The Last Jedi. And remember, Jedi can be plural. So it could be more than one Jedi. So he'll make, this is their Empire Strikes Back. Last Jedi will be the Empire Strikes Back. It's directed by a great director. The movie's going to be really good against Disney's wishes. And then the final film, instead of having a puppet director, because he just eventually quit, they now have JJ Abrams just doing the same thing. So this series is going to be a lot like the original, in which the second one will be brilliant, but the other two are just going to be shit.
I disagree. I think this last one will be really well done again.
You think Rian Johnson, you think JJ Abrams will do a better job than Rian Johnson?
I think again, Rian, in terms of like his films, yeah, he makes great movies, but this movie's by the numbers, man. Yeah, they have a spreadsheet of all the things they need to hit, of all the things they need to say, of all the characters that need to be in it, and whether you put Rian Johnson in the chair or JJ Abrams or Ron Howard or Steven Spielberg, at the end of the day, their abilities to actually
execute the script.
Yeah, execute the script is like, they might get some say in what the shots are going to look like and how things are going to be, but in terms of story, in terms of actually like telling something larger or doing something different or out of the ordinary, that they're just not going to, if you do that, they'll just fire you. Like,
Rian Johnson,
we've seen it. If they try to do something different, you get fired.
Yeah, we've seen a lot. I mean, okay, so Ron Howard stepped in to replace Phil Lord and Chris Miller on the Han Solo movie. We know that the movie was taken away from the director of Rogue One. And then now, who also did Monsters and Godzilla. And Rian Johnson, so here's what they did. they went to areas like a part of the former Soviet Union, like Belarus, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and they met with people that were part of like kind of the Genghis tribe. So these are like very interesting, unique looking people because they are both Caucasoids, but they also have Mongolian blood in them from back a few generations. So they have really interesting, beautiful features. They're often like people that look like Miranda Kerr have this type of look. They're often seen as the most beautiful women in the world. So Disney went around to each of these places and hired each of these women, and they stuffed their vaginas full of diamonds and $1,000 bills and had them roll in on Zeppelin's spread eagle to Rian Johnson's house, being like, please direct the next Star Wars movie. You're a genius. And know what he said?
No.
Nah, bruh.
I'd say
you shot down a Zeppelin. A woman died.
Your story sounds a little bit fabricated, but he probably didn't want to do it again. It's the same thing with why Joss decided to get out of the Marvel universe, right? Like Joss could have kept going in and being the director, but it was like
dog shit, like fucking Age of Ultron, which is like, Joss Whedon's worst movie.
I'm sure they showed up and they were sitting there and they were like, okay, so we need you to show this character and we need to see this character and we need to see this character. And it's just like,
I really think that Quicksilver needs more of a moment over here. And then Joss is like, I'll just kill him. They're like, oh, that's great.
Like, just let the guy, let them write a script, let them make a movie. But it's when it comes to this type of money, like everybody's just looking for a safe bet. And if you look at
JJ is a safe bet.
Essentially, yeah. JJ is the most safe bet out of all the directors that would be out there. No offense to Spielberg,
Colin Trevorrow, who he did replace.
Yeah, well, Colin Trevorrow, it's questionable based on that other film that he just released recently, that little indie pick. But I mean,
he makes one shitty movie. Come on, he made Safety Not Guaranteed and Jurassic World.
Yeah, like I'm not denying that. Well, although Jurassic World had some problems, but I mean,
Jurassic World was a dog shit movie that was so fucking fun. It was a horrible movie with a bad script, but man, was that movie just enjoyable.
Yeah, well, and you had Chris Pratt and a lot of charisma coming from that end.
Chris
and
Pratt
again,
sucked in the movie. Let's be honest.
The script was not the greatest. That's for sure.
The script was just absolutely dog shit. It was written by 6 people, and all of it was bad. Rick Jaffa, I think, was the original one that was in charge of it, and which is really weird because he made some of my favorite movies, like War of the Planet of the Apes and Lego Dimensions video game, which is actually a really good story, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and The Relic, which is a really fun horror movie from back in the 90s. So it's really, and he's also actually writing Avatar 3 right now and the Mulan live action movie. So, I mean, the script was bad, but the directing was good. I think the frame of Jurassic World is really good, and then they added a lot of explosion moments, and that might have been the other 5 writers on there. Because I think the underlying story is fine, and Rick Jaffa was responsible for that. Because you look at his let's be honest, Planet of the Apes trilogy is one of the best trilogies since Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, the new Planet of the Apes trilogy is very well done.
I mean, can you think of a better trilogy since Lord of the Rings?
A better trilogy that's come out since Lord of the Rings?
Yeah. Maybe The Matrix, but I think oh, come on, there's a lot going on in The Matrix and the movies I'm an idiot. The Dark Knight trilogy.
Yes, the Dark Knight trilogy. Yes,
dumb idiot. Oh, the Cornetto trilogy.
If you classify that as a trilogy, it's a very different type of movie than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But yeah, I mean,
Batman Begins is the greatest trilogy that's come out, even with the shitty third movie.
It is extremely well done. All those
the first 2 movies are my 2 favorite movies of all time.
But overall, I'd say JJ is the safest bet, and he will make a comparable film that people will enjoy. And yes, it will be by the numbers, but if I've got to take a Star Wars film that's made by JJ or a Star Wars film that could potentially be made by somebody that would end up costing hundreds of millions of dollars in reshoots and then firing the director halfway through and hiring Ron Howard to come and fix it, I think I would rather just prefer JJ do it. He's a good director. He's got awesome ideas. He's, made some of the coolest things in terms of, film and television in the past decade or 2 decades. But, at the same time, it's a safe bet. So it's not going to blow our socks off with something that's like the most, incredible thing we've ever seen in our lives. But I mean, and as far as my Star Wars goes, I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of hitting this point where you're feeling a little bit, and that's why I said I wanted to compare this to the Marvel universe, where we might start to feel a little bit like, do we really need a Star Wars film every single year?
I don't hate having a Star Wars movie. I think the universe is rich enough to do that. But this is what's happening with superhero movies. It's what's happening with anything. So comic books started anthologies and spin-offs and stuff and got bigger and bigger because the cost of doing it was cheap and the hunger by the fans were there. Right? So we got a million X-Men spin-off books and all this shit. So what happened is that, fans were hungry for content, and they're hungry for those characters, but what, the comic book companies quickly found out is that they weren't hungry for the same content. So what they were doing is that they were creating variants of everything and making a million stories were all too convoluted or all the exact same, that they just didn't make any fucking sense or just weren't interesting. And that's what caused the bust in the 90s, that caused the, comic book industry to go bankrupt, to which they're just recovering. Marvel got sold to Toy Biz, who used to make the toys for them, because they went bankrupt. I mean, it was a really, really bad time. So movies are going to go through this right now, is that they're giving us the same shit over and over again. And we can tell that people are getting more and more pissed off. So there's going to be a bit of a bust period, and there has been. There's been, ticket sales are down for a while, movie theaters are closing, blah, blah, blah.
Well, this year was the worst summer in like 25 years terms of box office sales numbers. And the funny thing is, we talk about how, maybe superhero films are becoming a little bit stale, but at the same time, those were the biggest money earners this year, with Wonder Woman and Spider-Man and these other films. But
those things teased something new, but didn't deliver. So over and over again, they're getting kind of hosed, right?
And I think it's a changing, the whole industry is changing in forms of in terms of filmmaking and television, and you're starting to see a lot more things moving on to different mediums, and Disney now is reported to be launching their own Netflix that has their library of content. And, we're going to start to see this stuff where, a movie's going to come to the theater and then it's going to come to the Disney app first to try to get people to buy that service.
Disney, let me send you a little message. If it's not on Netflix, I'm pirating it. Let's just be real. I am not paying extra shit so I can watch Peter Pan at 4 a.m. when I'm stoned.
Hey man, if it's $7 a month and it is Disney's entire back catalog and all of their shows that used to be on the Disney Channel, so we're talking like the original DuckTales and Chip and Dale and Tailspin and all of those shows, and it has all of the content from ABC because Disney owns ABC. If it has all those shows, I'd be willing to pay $7
Get the fuck out. You will pay $84 a year to watch Chip and Dales. Get the fuck out of here.
I would pay $7 a year if you had access to every Star Wars film, every single piece of content that ABC's ever produced,
First of all,
all their TV shows.
The new Star Wars films. The old Star Wars films are still owned by Paramount.
Well, Paramount was never involved. I think you mean Fox.
Well, wait, no, was that the production company?
20th Century Fox.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. But yeah, I would be interested, assuming it's just like a one flat fee and you get every single thing. If they start to piecemeal it and there's the Disney Kids.
How many times can you watch Remember the Titans? Why the fuck would you pay $7? Okay, tell me what you're gonna watch that's gonna give you $7 worth of value every month. That you
National Treasure.
Well, you got me there. But we already have the National Treasure on VHS, Blu-ray, and DVD.
And DVD.
You know how hard it was to get the fucking VHS? We had to go find a place that records the VHS and transcribe a Blu-ray to VHS. It doesn't even look good.
Did you get it in Betamax as well? Is that the?
I have it on Laserdisc. I got the movie converted to binary and tattooed the ones and zeros on my chest.
That would have taken your whole entire body.
Depends how small the ones and zeros are.
Touche. All right, well, I think overall, good decision. I'm down.
Get it, JJ.
do
Go
it.
do your thing. Make your fucking cash cow. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna probably enjoy it, and I do not give a fuck. I'm just happy that Rian Johnson got to get one, so at least you guys got one decent director doing one decent movie accidentally in the middle of your films. Speaking of films that were excellent this summer, and speaking of Wonder Woman and the like, the best movies of 2017. So we'll pretty much piece this as best movie of the summer. But what's interesting about this summer is that Shame Lemons didn't see a goddamn film.
I didn't see anything.
You didn't see a goddamn movie.
Nope.
Not a film was seen by your eyes. What the fuck?
I didn't go to the movie theater all that much.
You know
this
what you
summer.
need to do? You need to get out.
Get out more? You mean?
No, you need to watch Get Out. It's the fucking best movie this summer.
Oh.
God damn, that's a good movie. Holy shit. You want to know what it was? It was a good movie.
Oh, no. I did. It wasn't the summer, but I did watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
That is the summer movie. That's a shit movie. I'm sorry you had to see it. That movie
And
sucked hard.
I think the only other film that I was really compelled to go to was the one in the spring, which was Logan.
Logan was well, let's hear your thought on it first, because I don't want to taint you.
Logan was awesome. Logan's probably my favorite film of the year this far.
Have you seen Dunkirk?
I haven't seen Dunkirk. I haven't seen. There's a few other ones that I do actually want to see. I want to see Baby Driver.
Yeah, because you love babies and driving. You think it's so cute. Babies Day Out had one of the best scenes you've ever seen. Have you seen King Arthur? That's probably the best movie of the year for me.
I heard that wasn't very good. I watched Alien. I watched Alien Covenant, and
oh god,
wasn't very good.
No, it was.
It was what? Marginal at best? Is that what you're going to do? Like a 6.5?
If I showed you individual clips of that movie, just scene by scene, you'd be like, oh, this shit looks dope, yo. But then when you show it all together, it's like, oh, this shit don't make sense, dog.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, man, this just looks like the most incredible alien movie of all time. And then you watch it and you're like, what?
You see fucking... what's his name? Magneto jerking himself off and cutting his own hair, and you're like, this is fucking crazy. What the fuck is happening in this movie? And then you see like people get eaten by shit and getting locked in quarantine veins. You're like, holy shit, whoever directed the scene's a motherfucker. This scene is so goddamn tense. When she first gets trapped inside the quarantine, when he starts to bubble, and the first white xenomorph is seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see like things like, oh, we're gonna see some cave drawings, and then then you're going to start to remember Prometheus and be like, wait, hold up. David created the xenomorphs, but xenomorphs are on cave paintings from fucking million years ago by goddamn engineers.
It's just so, it has its head so far up its own ass.
In one city, and David somehow figured out how to use a weapon of mass destruction to kill everyone in that one city. Also, why was a scouter ship equipped with a weapon of mass destruction? There's a whole bunch of things that are just like, wait a minute. This doesn't make sense, but at least I'll see Dr. Elizabeth Shaw. Boy, I can't wait for her to show up, because the entire movie is about building her as a strong female protagonist, and her return will be just like Ripley's in Alien 2. Really excited. It's like, nah, I raped her, impregnated her, and then used her body for experiments until she died. We'll do this all off film, and I'll show you in paintings I did.
There you go.
That's that movie, but then the horror scenes, real fucking good.
I would say the best part of that movie was Danny McBride.
Fuck off. He didn't have a good moment in the entire film. So here are the movies of 2017 that came out. We got Wonder Woman. I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. I would say it's about it's the same movie as Captain America 1, Iron Man 1. It's a pretty basic origin story with a forgettable villain that doesn't really mean anything. She's one of Themyscirians, but she wears the least clothes of anyone on Themyscira. Wonder Woman was supposed to be a strong... oh, God. We're going to have to do a whole Wonder Woman debate, but you know what? I'm going to do that while Kayla's here.
Yeah, can we do it after I see
So
it?
I can scream at her and be like, "Women suck," which was what people apparently thought I was saying. And I was like, "Hey, wouldn't it be great if a MMA fighter like Gina Carano played Wonder Woman, so it'd be a more realistic body type?" And like, "What do you mean a realistic body type? She was in the military." I'm like, "Yeah, but she's also 110 pounds and 5'4", so like a strong gust could crack an ankle." I mean. And we got some really great movies this year as well. We got Get Out, we got Logan, which once again is my second favorite movie in the X-Men series behind The Wolverine. Baby Driver, Dunkirk was really just incredible. You know what? If you're blind, go watch Dunkirk. The soundscape is really the best part of that movie. Because I don't know what the fuck else happened for that hour and 22 minutes or whatever the fuck it was. It was really short. I've literally watched porn longer than this movie. But it's real beautiful while it's happening. Spider-Man Homecoming was so much fun. I just had a good time. I think Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man. I actually think Andrew Garfield is so above Spider-Man, he shouldn't have done it. He's like such a good actor. It's like almost wrong for him to play Spider-Man. I'm like, nigga, you should be out there getting more Oscars than you already have. War of the Planet of the Apes is a really satisfying end to the series. Wasn't as good as the other two. I would say actually the movies probably progressively get worse, but they're all like still like 9.9, 9.8, 9.7 kind of thing.
There's some high ratings.
Well, man, okay, let's say that someone came to you and was like, "Listen, we got two things we want you to make a movie from. CG monkeys and James Franco. That's it. Have fun." Would you make a good movie? Because I wouldn't. I don't know what shit I would come up with. I'd be like, I'm fucked anyway. I might as well make Pineapple Express recreated with monkeys.
I would say, like, and as far as James Franco films go, I that first Planet of the Apes film was extremely well done.
It's his best movie by far, and he sucked in it. Every moment he was on screen, I'm like, man, this guy's a real bad actor, and the movie's incredible. That's how strong that film is. The performance by Andy Serkis as Caesar and the performance by John Lithgow as his father were so moving and so like real and visceral that it carried the entire film. And it's really unfortunate, they reference James Franco's character later on, but they never reference John Lithgow because I really think that's what the story was about. The reason why Caesar got smart and started interacting and shit was because of John Lithgow's character. The reason Caesar got trapped in the sanctuary in the first place was because of his love for John Lithgow. Like, that's my only problem. And the final movie is a little cheesy in some points. Woody Harrelson does a really interesting job. I mean, as he always does, he does something with the villain, which is interesting. But it was a satisfying ending, and I really enjoyed it. The girl was really good. Guardians of the Galaxy sucked. What am I going to say? I didn't like the first one. I don't like the second one. What am I going to say?
What
am I going to say? I love Chris Pratt. I've been a Chris Pratt fan since the OC.
So what's your problem with the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Who's the funny character in the group?
Who's the funny character?
Yeah, who's the comedic relief?
When they're all trying too hard? Is that what your problem is?
Just pick one. Who is the comedic relief? Well, the one who doesn't take things seriously.
Who's Bautista?
No, Drax, he takes things too seriously. He's too literal. Who just doesn't give a fuck?
Rocket Raccoon?
Rocket Raccoon. Okay, what's Rocket Raccoon's funniest line?
In which film?
Either. Name one funny thing Bradley Cooper has ever said in any movie, including The Hangover. Name one! The Hangover's one of the funniest movies ever. He didn't have one funny line. And guess what happened? He went in this movie, and the same fucking thing happened. He wants to be Raphael from the Ninja Turtles, and he ended up being Raphael from the Ninja Turtles, because that's not a good fucking thing to be. That movie sucked, too.
Hey, man, the first Ninja Turtles is pretty good.
Yeah, it's great. I actually love those movies. It was a bad analogy, but I got stuck in it, and I rolled with it. All right,
you should have said he
call me out on this shit.
Raphael from the second one, from Secret of the Ooze.
Sometimes I wish you were a woman so you had 30% less intelligence so you could just let these things get by you. You know what? You're disgusting. How dare you laugh at that? You stand up for a female.
But
women are every bit as smart as men.
both those films are really well done. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. They actually have characters that get story arcs. They tell a complete story.
Yes.
And it was something, especially as far as Marvel films go, that was different, that hadn't really been done before. And it felt like they actually gave James Gunn some flexibility in the story that he could tell.
Right,
and
but let's talk about
really
the characters.
fun movies.
He made movies. Okay, sure, they're fun. It's like, hey, we're a wacky ragtag group doing some fun things. Except none of us have interesting personalities. You know, they have personality traits, and they play off those personality traits really, really well. They milk those really, really well. But what's the character development in Drax? Where's the character development in Baby Groot? You know what I mean? And also, they did character development moments, but all of them were so fucking ham-fisted and in your face, and like,
yeah. In Volume 2, it was a little bit more on the nose.
Why were you fighting me? Because I wanted a sister. And then they zoomed in on her face and played slow piano music in the background, like a goddamn Family Matters cut to commercial. It was embarrassingly bad. Those fucking emotional reveals. I was embarrassed watching that movie.
Well,
I think that movie is designed for the sensibility of an 11-year-old. I think James Gunn is really funny to 11-year-olds. He's a lame dude.
Like, the challenge that they had with the second one is that they tried to give too many character arcs and too many story arcs to everyone.
I actually think James Gunn balanced the story arcs really well. I think every character had his moment, and that was done well. I just didn't like the moments.
Well, I don't think you need to do that necessarily. At the end of the day, you have your lead characters. Like, not every single like secondary character needs to have their own completed story arc.
Well, I mean, that's what pissed me off, is that he spent all these times on giving fucking Taserface a goddamn story arc. Taserface, first of all, see, this is what I mean. This guy is like an 11-year-old kid. The things he finds funny or stupid. He's like, hey, the funniest joke in the fucking movie was, don't push a button. I'm going to push the button. No, I'm not going to. Don't push that button. It's like, maybe I'll push the button. No, don't push that button. I'm going to push the button. Oh, and there's a laugh track and zoom in. Every single one of his jokes comes from a Happy Days episode. It's like, hey, he revealed something he didn't mean to. I'll laugh obtusely because I'm autistic. Like, the movie was done, the first one was done with way more subtlety. It was a way better movie. No, it was less fun and less big, but it was the characters a little bit better because I think the emotional moments made sense. I think Peter Quill acted like a goddamn child when dealing with Ego the Living Planet, to the point where he is pouting and acting like a little kid. I know that might have been intentional, but it was so fucking sitcom-y that I couldn't get through the goddamn movie. And like, goddamn Rocket Raccoon is so fucking shitty of a character. He's not funny. The funniest character is Drax, and like, he's not even that funny. And like, all of Chris Pratt, when he's the funniest, is when he's the dumbest. But he's playing the lead guy, so they don't want to make him the dumbest anymore, except for a woman, because the dumb man and the smart woman is like a trope. So he starts losing these opportunities. Like, where was Chris Pratt his funniest? Parks and Recreation. Watch the Parks and Recreation blooper reel. His improv was killing people, but it was all self-deprecating. And this movie lost that. His character art was boring. I didn't like the way they handled Ego, where he had a goddamn PowerPoint presentation designed with moving statues to explain his evil plan. Like, there's just so much dumb shit in it. And they didn't use Mantis properly either. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it.
Tell me how you really feel.
It was fun. I liked it.
All right.
John Wick 2. John Wick 2 is a movie I'm conflicted on too, because it's really good, but it's also really bad.
Didn't watch it. I need to watch more movies, I think.
Fuck, John Wick 2 is fun. It's the first movie in reverse, but a little bigger. I still prefer the first movie because the first time we see it. But there's some ways that he reloads guns that are so realistic that I literally got an erection in the theater. And my girlfriend usually rests her hand on my crotch because we're perverts. And then she felt me get hard when she saw him reload. And she's like, oh my God. I'm like, I know. I'm going to call Keanu tonight. Lego Batman movie's fantastic. There's not much to say about it. It's just a good movie. Fuck you. Go watch it. Fate of the Furious. Also a good movie. I liked Fate of the Furious. What can I say? I know it's not good. I know it's retarded. But they've acknowledged how retarded it is and made it good. Beauty and the Beast I didn't watch. The Dark Tower was bad. It'd be a great movie for 13, but for adults, it's just lame. Kong Skull Island was fully fucking retarded. And it was like, it's like Godzilla meets Jurassic World in its retardedness and then turned up to 11. And I know they were doing it deliberately, but I just didn't buy it, I guess. Like Tom Hiddleston plays retarded characters, but he plays them super realistic because he doesn't know any better. He doesn't know how to ham, and he does it here again. And you're like, oh no, you should be having more fun with this. And the only saving grace of Kong Skull Island is fucking, wow, I blanked on his name. I'm so sorry. Steve Brule, Dr. Steve Brule.
Who is that?
Talladega Nights.
Nope.
Step Brothers.
Oh, it's the guy from Brothers?
Step Brothers.
From Step Brothers? The guy he's also
John C. Reilly.
There you go.
He was great.
He's in Guardians of the Galaxy as well.
Yeah, he plays a guy named Corporal Day, which I understand is a very good last name.
Mm-hmm.
So with an E, which is weird. The Mummy was the worst movie I've ever seen, but I loved it. I loved it. If you know it's a horrible movie and you want to see a horrible movie, go see The Mummy because it's the best horrible movie you'll see. But the big surprise for me this year was It.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
So let's talk about our history with It.
It sounds like a broken record.
Did you watch It as a kid?
I watched the original It as a kid, yeah.
And what age were you and what happened to you?
Oh, I was probably like 11, maybe younger when I watched It for the first time. I was freaked the hell out, man.
Yeah, that movie fucked me up a lot. Like, a lot. Like, I slept it with, actually, the other day I saw my mom and she's like, what are you up to tonight? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go see It. And she's like, oh, you remember what that movie did to you as a kid, right? And I was like, yeah. She's like, yeah, you sure you want to do that? I'm like, I'm an adult now. I can watch a scary movie. She's like, okay. Oh, you're an adult, but you can't make your own goddamn doctor's appointments or do your own laundry. I was like, bitch, shut up and give me my clothes. I didn't say that. She'd hit me if I did. So yeah, I was really scared of It. I had, like, when I was really, really young, I watched it, and I watched a lot of horror movies because I was obsessed with them, but they kept keeping me up at night, and I just stopped sleeping. So I would stay up all night. I would read all night. I would keep the light on. And then, because I would get night terrors anytime I closed my eyes, because I was just one of those kids with a hyper imagination. And so it, like, really, really fucked me up to a point where I just, like, avoided it altogether. Like, I had a bad experience with clowns as a kid, too, because I was at the Shriner Circus, and I wanted to stay on the elephant. You know, remember the elephant rides you used to go on? Did you ever do that?
No, I never went on elephant rides at the circus.
Yeah, so at the Shriner Circus, you could go up on a little platform. You go on the back of an elephant, and the elephant walks you around the arena. It's like $20, whatever, but you know, you get to get a little experience. I didn't want to get off. So this clown pulled me off. So I had a bad experience with the clown being scary as a kid. And then I watched that movie, and it just like fucked me, and I just hated clowns the rest of my life, and I just avoided it. And I remember reading the book as a really young kid and being like, this will help me get over it. And it made it a million times worse. And so I just, like, for the last 20 years, I haven't even touched it at all. I don't talk about it. I don't think about it. But then recently I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, I got to see this. It looks horrifying. So I started reading the book again. And I realized that, like, the book I've been writing for the last, like, 6 years is basically a retelling of It. It's like the way I dealt with it. And it's really, really interesting. Like, it's probably the best book I've read about, you know, a group of kids growing up. And then it also happens to have a demon killer clown in it accidentally. But if you cut all those things out, it's just a really good, like, book about people growing up and how they deal with trauma and things like that. And, like, how they deal with losses of loved ones and stuff. And holy fuck. So I got super immersed in the book. I'm about 380 pages in now. And I saw the movie expecting to be dog shit. And the movie was really good. I had a good time. I mean, the movie would actually be better without all the random jump scares. And the monsters themselves were not scary. Those side monsters were stupid. But this movie's still really good. And that shows you that a good story, even if the horror doesn't hit every moment for me, like, it was chilling and creepy, don't get me wrong, it can really carry a movie. And I think they did a really, really good job with this.
Did they do it like the miniseries where it was like flashbacks?
No, they actually split it up. So this is a minor spoiler. At the end of the film, they say It Chapter 1. So this is actually the first one. There will be a sequel.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, because you can't get the entire story in an hour and 30-minute movie, let's be honest.
Oh, it was a miniseries, right? Originally, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like
it was 6 half-hour episodes.
Yeah.
So about 3.5 hours. And they are 3 hours and plus a half-hour conclusion. So for this one, they obviously condensed it quite a bit, but they hit a lot of the right notes. The kids actors are fucking incredible. Every kid actor in there nailed it. Like I look for shitty kid actors. Like that's why I hated Star Wars Episode 1. Like the kid actor was so bad I couldn't even notice the film after that. But every kid in there does a fantastic job. There's one character, Richie, who is played by Finn Wolfhard, who you might remember from Stranger Things. He is me as a child exactly. Like every line of dialogue he says is him. Like there's one line of dialogue, it's like, what's with all those pills? And he's like, oh, it's birth control. I'm saving it for your sister. That sounds like exactly something I would say. Or one of the kids has to go back and give his creepy mom a kiss before he leaves. Like, did you forget something? And then before he leaves, like Richie's like, do you want a kiss for me too? I'm just like practicing. And they like grab him and pull him out the door. Like this is just shit that I would say.
He's from Vancouver, eh, that kid?
Yeah, I believe so. And yeah, they did a really, really, really good job. It was very nostalgic for me, so I am a little biased. I thought Bill Skarsgård did a really good creepy job as Pennywise, and I would highly recommend it. It's just a fun date movie. Definitely something to go if you want to finger a girl afterwards because she doesn't want to sleep alone that night.
Jesus.
But aside from that, that's pretty much all the summer movies that we really had. I didn't see Ghost in the Shell or Valerian or Pirates of the Caribbean, and oddly, I did not see T2 Trainspotting. Which is funny because Trainspotting is one of my favorite movies, so it's like really weird I didn't see it.
Yeah, I feel like there were definitely some films that I meant to get out to, but just didn't because I was doing other things this summer, traveling around, and I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot that compelled me really to go and spend my money and go hang out at the theater for a day.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, any horror movie I'll go see. So obviously I did see Annabelle Creation as well, and I loved it. I thought it was great, super fun, spooky as shit. Just get really high and you'll have a good time.
Pro tips right there.
And we had a few flops this summer as well. We had King Arthur, Baywatch, Atomic Blonde, Ghost in the Shell. These were like kind of the biggest bombs this summer, and the Emoji Movie. Ironically, the one of those movies that I've seen is the Emoji Movie. My girlfriend couldn't decide what she wanted to watch, so I was like, well, if you're not deciding, I'm putting on the fucking Emoji Movie because I'm tired of goddamn waiting. And she's like, no, decide. And then it took like a week and then it didn't happen. So then I put on the Emoji Movie and watched the Emoji Movie, and I hate it.
How was that? Oh, okay.
You know what? It isn't actually as bad as everyone says. It actually seemed to me like exactly the same as all the other fucking movies. I was like kids' movies. They're all kind of the same shitty slapstick humor. It didn't really seem that far off for me. I think people just hated that it was.
So it was like Sausage Party for kids?
Kind of. So what would you say was your best movie of the summer, even if you haven't seen it, now that I've given you a rundown of each of them?
Well, in terms of which movie, well,
so I would say we could probably narrow it down to our top like 5 or 6 would be Get Out, Logan, Dunkirk, War of the Planet of the Apes. I'm not allowing you to put Guardians on that list, obviously. John Wick 2.
Sounds like a lot more than 5, just saying.
I think that's about it, though, honestly.
Well, I think for me, in terms of the films that, like the ones that I'm still most anticipating, would be Wonder Woman, because I haven't seen it. Definitely want to see that. Dunkirk, because I'm a huge Nolan fan. The other ones would be, I kind of mentioned it earlier on, which was, and did you not go see Baby Driver?
I didn't end up seeing Baby Driver. I was only at the indie theater here, and the indie theater here smells like piss. So,
oh, well, let's skip on that one. But I do really want to see Baby Driver.
I will see it on when it's on Blu-ray. We'll rent it and pay money for it because I absolutely adore Edgar Wright. He's one of my favorite directors. I love all of his movies, and I'm really excited for it. I'm actually one of the few people that saw Scott Pilgrim versus the World in theaters.
Oh, you're one of the few. I saw it after the fact.
But admit it, that movie's fucking awesome.
It's a great film.
Okay. I think that covers up our 2017 movies. Anything else you'd like to say for the summer?
Not necessarily for the summer, but there are still more movies this year that I'm definitely looking forward to.
You'll eventually see them, but like, what do you think will be the best movie this year?
What do I think will be the best movie this year? Yeah. I still, oh man, I really liked Logan, but it could, there are still movies that are yet to come out. I wouldn't be surprised.
Just like Star Wars, like what the fuck else is even coming?
The new Blade Runner's coming out.
Yeah. Justice League.
Justice League, Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So there are still some movies that are yet to play.
4 movies.
And
None of them are contenders for best movie of the year.
Yeah, well, that's I don't know, man. Best movie of the year thus far? Oof. Good luck.
Well, what else is like the best movie of the year aside from that? Like,
Well, even the movies we're saying are all like mainstream kind of blockbustery, either like sci-fi. You got to wait till like the indie, what's going to be the movie that some actor decided to do this year that's a really well
I've
written
seen
script.
some independent movies, and I think like obviously anything made by Blumhouse. Okay, here's what Blumhouse does. They're like, we will only buy really good scripts. We're not buying a bunch of random scripts and holding on to them, hoping someone good can come on and fix them. If you have a great script, you can come to us. We will, and if you're a named director, we will give you $35 million, and that's it to make your movie. So you're not going to make a ton of money, but if you really care about this fucking project and the script's really good, you can have it. So they did it with Get Out. They did it with Split. They did it with It. And all those movies are fucking awesome. So, I mean, they have something.
But could you see, Get Out winning Best Picture at the Academy?
I can see it winning Best Original Screenplay.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
I can see it winning Best Costume Design even, or sound editing. Really, really smart sound editing in that movie. I could also see Split winning Best Adapted Screenplay. I could see James McAvoy winning the Oscar for Best Actor. Absolutely. I don't even say it with any sarcasm. I absolutely think he could win it.
When's usually all the films come out for the Oscars? Like they usually come out as like at the end of the year,
or usually about 2 months. So like when winter's deep, so like November.
So we might actually start to see some films that are have good screenplays.
Well, I know. Have you seen like Life was a really good movie this year that no one talked about. Life was like an unofficial prequel to the Venom movie. It's about them going to the moon, finding an organism, and that organism grabbing on and adapting and taking their bodies over. And that's I'm not spoiling anything. It's all in the trailer. Ryan Reynolds, Jake Gyllenhaal, legit movie. Is really good too.
It's better than the Alien Covenant.
Yeah, it was actually a lot better than Alien Covenant because it's actually a cohesive story. I mean, it doesn't have the best rating. It's only 6.7 on IMDb, but it's a really great movie. Daniel Espinosa made a really pretty chilling, atmospheric area, which he does really well. Like he said that with Child 44 and Safe House. Not good movies, but he's really good at doing atmosphere. And he did a good job in this one as well. And this one was kind of a pitch to be the Venom movie, but unofficially was the Venom movie.
Seems like that's what it would be. It was I don't want to say too much because there's different spoilers and whatnot, but it was well done, very well done. I do have one question for you before we move on. Mm-hmm. Did you watch Power Rangers?
I did not. And it's funny because I loved Power Rangers as a kid. Like I really, really love Power Rangers. I watched the first 3 iterations. My favorite was Tommy. I love the fucking flute dagger. Green Ranger. I can actually name off all the Rangers and like their actual names as well.
No, that's okay. You don't need to.
I'll do it right now. So Amy Jo Johnson, the Pink Ranger, played Kimberly. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I also, my little cousin watched it. So like a few years back, I watched an episode and they brought back every single Red Ranger to fight. I thought that was so cool. But yeah, I did not see it. Did you see it?
I did not. I have not seen it yet. We're just going to have like marathon a whole bunch of these films in order to properly talk about them.
Well, I think a lot of these, the Oscar movies are already out, like The Founder or Silence, shit like that. Detroit, Mother.
When is Saw 12 coming out? Is that?
I don't care. And if anyone does care, I don't want you listening to this. You know what movie I did watch that I was disappointed in but liked? Death Note. Death Note's a fun movie if you haven't seen Death Note. If you don't know anything about it, if you haven't read the books or anything like that, it's fun. It's an okay movie. It's a pretty interesting idea, I guess. And the guy is kind of funny. Actually, the jokes land pretty well. They're very...
So is it like you write a note and then you read it and someone dies? Is that...
No, so what happens is that the god of death is bored one day in the nether realm, and he drops the Death Note in our realm. And then there's this really, really smart kid named Light Ayanami, or in the books he's named Light Ayanami. It's a white guy now, so I don't know what his name is. Light. who picks up the book and reads these rules. And it's like, listen, anyone whose name you write in this book will die within 48 hours. You can write the cause of death, but it has to be realistic, or else it won't happen. The only way to stop them from dying is by burning a page, but you can only burn a page once. You must know their name and have a clear face in your head before you can write it down, or else it won't work. Yeah. So this guy is like, okay, well, obviously what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill all the bad people. So then he watches the news and then gets the names of serial killers and shit and just writes the names in the books and say they all die from heart attacks.
Oh yeah, I think I saw a trailer for this. It actually looks like a really cool concept for a film.
Man, the book is the manga is amazing. It's one of the best ones I've read. I own every single physical copy of the original printings of it. I'm pretty passionate about it. I have one of the characters on my desk at work as a little figurine. It's one of the only books that's ever outsmarted me. So I thought that was really great because I love being outsmarted. And usually a lot of books that we read nowadays are very predictable, or at least you can guess. I didn't guess a lot of these turns. So I really, really appreciated that. And then the manga did a really good job of adapting that. And there's also 2 live action movies in Japan that were pretty good. And then they make a white version, and it is not good. It is all the subtlety. It's kind of like the Wanted movie. Wanted, have you seen Wanted?
Yes, I've seen Wanted.
Do you like that movie?
It was okay.
So if you see Wanted as just a film, it's a pretty good movie. It's fun, has some good actors in it, has a good message. Yeah, it's great. Chris Pratt is in it. But then you read the book and then you're like, oh, this is about something. This means something. And it's so much more. And then you watch Death Note and you're like, oh, you missed it. But you did a pretty good job telling a fun story in the meantime. But you missed it. And that was really, really frustrating about that movie for me. But, I mean, I'm not saying don't watch it on Netflix. I think it's totally worth watching on Netflix. I thought the jokes were pretty funny. And it was, Willem Dafoe as the God of Death is amazing. They're called Shiganamis. Yeah, I thought that was really, really good. So most anticipated, what you're expecting the best movie of the year? What do you think it'll be? Just make a prediction now and then we'll compare later.
Star Wars Episode 8, 9, 10? What episode? 8.
I think the best movie of the year will be... I can't decide. Okay, next up. Speaking of not being able to decide, know who's indecisive? Niggers.
No.
Yes,
unacceptable.
Yes.
That is an inappropriate
I'm black. I'm allowed
comment.
to say that. It is a socially acceptable thing. If you're a black person, you're allowed to say it. The reason behind that is, okay, first of all, let's explain to white people why black people are allowed to say nigger and you guys are not.
Still not appropriate.
It is fine. The reason is because when we use it, we sound cool. But no matter what you do, y'all honkies look lame as fuck. Oh!
Still not appropriate. But why are you torturing?
No Nazi and white supremacist, PewDiePie, who spreads his white supremacy by speaking in a Swedish accent and playing video games on the internet and being really friendly to his community, what came under fire because initially he came under fire by the media saying that he was a supporter of the alt-right, a Nazi symbol, because he said, he was comparing it to if they, YouTube want us to be like this, it would be like watching videos like this all day. And he showed him watching Nazi videos. That's what it'd be like if everyone had to force their content to conform to what YouTube wanted. So he's using it as comparison. And then he even joked after, he's like, watch, next day the media is going to call me a racist Nazi. And they did. And they ran with it, even though it was all deliberately to bait them and being like, look, I can just joke about it, but they'll call me a Nazi, even though I'm part Jewish. Doesn't matter. And
what he had basically done was taken out of context in that scenario, in those situations.
It was deliberately put in that context to show how they take things out of context. And then they went and took it out of context. It's insane. The level of troll is the 9,000, how dumb they are. So he got in some hot water for that, but then people are like, we love Nazis. Who gives a shit? So he was fine. And now his viewership and ratings have gone down again because while playing a video game, he accidentally said, okay, go left, go left. Ah, fucking nigger shot me. God damn it. Oh, sorry. I don't mean that in a bad way. Fuck, shit, he shot me. So tell me, nigger used in that context, is that a truly egregious thing in which game developers are now saying that he's banned from playing their games?
Well, I don't know if it needs to go to the extreme of banning him from playing their games, but they don't want their brands associated with that type of attitude and that type of rhetoric.
Give him a chance to take the video down. How about that? How about, hey, we don't like this. Take this down because it doesn't represent our ideals. And he'll be like, yeah, totally. Very
sure.
sorry.
He probably should have done that. He probably should not have posted that video to live online.
It was a live stream.
He did it during a live stream.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know,
and then he took it down after.
Good. He should take that down. It's inappropriate. And again, I don't think that PewDiePie is a racist. I don't think that he
sucked my dick and it's black as fuck.
But I mean, at the same time, you know, he should have come out right after it happened and apologized. And
he did.
The only concern in my mind is just that, you know, if that's what he's willing to just sort of say off the cuff, then, you know, what is he actually like behind the scenes?
Oh, fuck you, nigger. We call each other niggers all the time. This morning he calls me.
No, I do not.
And he's like, what up, nigger? Isn't it great how all those Jews died in World War II?
Did not.
Words you said.
None of those things did I say or do.
I'll give you this. Technically, the letters you typed were HELLO. But
yes, I said hello.
There's a larger context there.
Yes, I said hello. But I mean, when you're doing stuff on a live stream, when it's live, you know, you need to be conscious, you need to be aware of those types of things.
But also, when you're doing something stressful on a live stream, sometimes you say things you don't mean to. How many times have we seen people on TV go, oh, fuck, or oh, shit? There's compilations of it on YouTube. It happens a lot.
Sure, and it happens on live television with news broadcasters, and you know, people do say things that they just say accidentally or they didn't mean to say it, but they do. And I think that, you know, the broader question of just in terms of that attitude and those things that are being said, this is much different than what was going on before, where, you know, he was making some jokes in bad taste, and there was some stuff he did and said that
it wasn't in bad taste. It was some mock.
But there was things that was taken out of context, and you know, there was a lot of challenges and things that, you know, he should potentially have not have done. But again, it was out of context. This
video has been a Nazi speech. I mean, if anything, we're worse.
No. But you know, you can't discredit his entire work and everything about the individual just by making one little slip up in terms of him saying that. Again, should he apologize? Yes. Should he not do that again? Yes. Should he learn from his mistakes? Yes. If he does all those things, should he really be, you know, like, should people be like, you know, game developers be giving him strikes on his videos now because he accidentally said this? You know, that's a bigger question of, you know, whether
if someone makes a mistake like that, is it okay to destroy their lives?
Well, I don't think it's okay to destroy their lives.
He didn't say nigger in like an angry way, like, oh, I know who I hate, the niggers. No, he said it like the way that gamers say it. We say it because it's a naughty word. The same reason why we say shit or fuck or cunt or pussy or whatever. We say those because they are naughty words, and we're not usually allowed to say them in society. But then the boundaries are taken away in video games, so we act like 12-year-olds and say the naughty words because it gives us a kick of excitement. Nigger,
but should we really be saying that anyway? Like, that's the thing. I don't think we should be saying that anyway. There's a negative connotation and a negative, a lot of negative aspects and things that are associated with that. And
so there's a fucking value to catharsis, man. You should, if you're a bunch of white people are told they can't say a word their whole lives, and they're teenagers and kids and shit, and they're boys especially with lots of testosterone, and they're told they can't say a magical word, they're going to want to say it even more. If they have an outlet where they're allowed to say it anonymously and get away with it, they'll say it.
Yeah, but he's not a child. He's an adult. Right.
But those impulses, he's also 26? Like, these impulses that are in us don't go away immediately. I'm a fucking like 1,000 years old, and I still act like a 13-year-old.
Okay, like
I 13 all the time.
I 100% agree that intent is important. You know, what is the intention of these things? You have to look at that if you want to look at the actual moral implications of these types of situations and scenarios. But at the same time, you know, if it's something that, someone just says, on the spot when they're in the middle of doing something, it's like, then they must feel on some level that it's appropriate to say that or do that or whatever it may be, which, again, like I said, I don't think that his career should be like, shoveled into the ground because he did this, but he should apologize and he should not do it again. And he should make a statement to, just basically say that he was an idiot.
So here's his statement they released immediately after the live stream. I'm not going to make any excuses for what I did because there are no excuses for it. I'm disappointed in myself because it seems like I've learned nothing from these past controversies. And it's not that I think I can say or do whatever I want and get away with it. I'm just an idiot. But that doesn't make what I said or how I said it okay. What I did was extremely immature and stupid. And I hate how I now personally fed into that part of gaming as well.
Yeah, good.
Perfect.
I'm glad he did that. Yeah, that's
forgiven.
great.
Also, on the behalf of the black community, of which I represent half of, you're welcome to say nigga as much as you want. The way you're fucking so goddamn gangster, you're a nigga right now, man. I hated you at first because I only knew you for being popular and appealing to kids, and I thought that'd be annoying as shit. But you end up being kind of a fucking gangster because when you deal with shit, you deal with it right, and I'm always impressed by you. So, sure, you said nigger in a way you shouldn't have, but a million other kids did it the exact same way and the exact same day you did and got away with it. You just got caught because you're popular, and that's it.
All right.
So, sweet or sheet? PewDiePie saying nigger, sweet.
Sheet.
I don't even want to talk about the iPhone. Can we just skip that?
Sure, they released a new iPhone. It's a thing. It's got no buttons on the front.
5.8 display. Remember when they said they will never go above 3.5 because your thumb goes from here to here?
Yeah, I know, right?
Dual optical stabilization, dual cameras. I mean, that's just shit.
Augmented reality.
It's shit they're catching up with.
They finally put
advanced
an
LTE, so up to like 900 mbs, which is pretty cool. Bluetooth 5.0.
An OLED nice. Screen on it. That was nice.
Wow. Okay. Great. OLED. Yeah, I don't know.
Ultra Retina display. I don't know. It's like $1,000 phone.
Mean?
Like the thing is now, and the frustrating part with all the phones is just like, do we really need to have this as like a yearly, cycle of you need a new phone now, you need a new phone now? It's like we're not gaining.
Oh, hold on. They got a feature from 2005 though. Wireless charging. That's cool. They caught up to 9 years ago. They did it.
Well, that's the, it's like they're trying to make these things to make them seem like there's such big leaps in technology, and it's like, well, other devices have had this
9 years ago into a phone.
Other things have had this for ages.
You know what? The advertising was hey, if you have a key charger from your Samsungs you've been using for the past 10 years, you can now use it on our phone. That was their selling feature.
I can use my Android stuff with this iPhone.
Oh God, just truly dog shit. It's even funnier as the iPhone X says we have infrared camera, 3D mapping. We're gonna use Face ID. You don't need a thumbprint sensor anymore. Fuck that. You need face scanning. So when they use the iPhone X Face ID technology on stage, what does it do?
Breaks. Doesn't work.
It fails. Guess what?
No one cares.
This phone is the exact same phone as the LG G6 with slightly less RAM and a slightly slower processor. That's about it.
So the question is, moving forward, are they going to standardize with this new X style, or are they going to be running two phones in tandem now? Because they still released an iPhone 8.
I don't know.
There's an iPhone 8 and an iPhone 8 Plus. So are they going to have an iPhone X and an iPhone 8 and an iPhone X1 and an iPhone 8S? Like, is it just going to keep on going now with two different versions of the iPhone and segregating?
Yeah, because that's what made Apple really good in the first place, was that they were willing to segment and differentiate their products, so they have a bunch of different lines that accommodate everyone. Oh wait, that's the exact opposite of what they did. What in the actual fuck is the iPhone X? Like, they are really fucking with Apple's legacy here. Also, the Apple TV 4K, you get 12 movies on iTunes that are in 4K. They don't broadcast in true 4K through the Apple TV either, nor does it run in 60 FPS. It is literally like, hey, we will slightly upgrade a 1080p feed to look like it's 4K, but we won't actually give you anything about it. It's really, really, really fucking retarded.
They're future-proofing the brand.
Their Watch 3 series is like, hey, remember that shitty watch no one cares about? We updated it. It's still shit.
Yeah, I heard the battery life on those are pretty bad.
I mean, if you got a 9-hour battery watch, what the fuck is the point? Like, honestly.
It keeps the time for 9 hours,
I wonder
man.
what time it is. Like, wait, nope.
It kept the time for 9 hours.
Don't you think you might need a watch with battery for times that you're away from things where you can easily check the fucking time?
That's the one thing. Like, I will say, like, I do have a Fitbit, and the display's garbage and the technology is dated, but this thing's battery, man. I don't have to charge this thing for like a week.
Who cares? It's a pedometer. You just want to know what the pedometer is. Hey, does that sound like I'm pissing? I'm pouring wine.
Well, I'm glad you're not.
Oh, no, never mind. I am peeing as well.
No,
Okay, let's get down to my favorite segment of the show and the final segment of the show. Shane's bullshit corner where he talks about boring bullshit.
Boring bullshit.
Let's talk about minimum wage, you son of a bitch. I've had too much.
Well, you asked me. You said, "What's a news story you want to talk about?"
I didn't. I've never said those words to you. I've
said, "What's a news story you want to talk about?" And then my response was, well, "We could talk about this $15 an hour minimum wage." To which you responded with, "That's such a bullshit idea." Which I responded with, "I think we need to talk about this subject." So I will give you my piece.
You homo.
There's been a lot of different places in North America and Canada and the U.S. that have been moving towards things like $15 minimum wages, and a lot
all
of
those
people.
Other places in North America outside of the Canada and the U.S.
Yes. Okay. So in Canada and the U.S., but in the U.S. it's more based on there are some cities that are doing it, there are some states that are doing it. And in Canada, we have some provinces that are doing it. And there's been a big not public, but I would say there's been a big outcry from the business community.
It sounds a little bit like this.
By doing this, they're going to have to lay off hordes and hordes of employees. But the challenge and the issue that I have with that rhetoric is the fact that when you increase people's wages, people spend more money locally. And what this is actually doing is keeping more money in the local community and giving less money to things like Walmart that then take that money and move it to a different part of the world.
Incorrect. They will all spend it at Walmart.
So even if the people that are making the money are spending some of that money at Walmart, they're spending it at the local Walmart that is paying local people money who are getting paid more now. So what you're going to actually see is for those those small businesses in those areas that are existing will do better, will make more money, the economy will increase, and they will be actually able to hire more people and create more jobs because each of the businesses will have more money
Walmarts
locally.
do not increase economies. They shift economies. They do not increase economies.
But this issue is the fact of the matter is we have multinational corporations that are making billions of dollars
like
that are not paying their staff enough. The ultimate solution to this is to not have a minimum wage that just increases it across the board. The solution is to have a minimum wage for multinational organizations and a separate minimum wage for small and medium-sized businesses that are trying to grow and thrive. Because right now, it's not equal on a competition standpoint.
Yeah, but then that would just encourage people to go work at a Walmart than working at a mom and pop.
It should, yeah, 100%.
If we have it all on the line, people will work like, hey, maybe I'll work at that cafe instead.
If you can make $15 an hour at a McDonald's and working as a graphic designer only pays you $10 an hour, go work at McDonald's. If they want to hire you as a graphic designer at minimum wage, which is $10, they're going to need to do a hell of a lot better. Like that, the biggest issue that we have is that the way that taxation is working in terms of
without representation.
Well, no, but the problem is that we have an issue of these multinational organizations. We're putting them in the same category as small and medium-sized businesses.
But we need to, you see, because if Walmart can offer people is forced to offer people salaries of $15 an hour, they can afford it because they're a large corporation. If the mom and pop next door or corner shop can only afford $12 an hour, there's no incentive to go there rather than to go to the Walmart. Whereas if there's a standardized minimum wage, it doesn't matter if you work at a mom and pop or a multinational, you still get the same benefits. So
I
and
would
it'll
say-
encourage more people to work at smaller mom and pops.
Like,
But it'll also close up some mom and pops.
Well, and I wouldn't disagree with that. The only thing I would say is I know people that have been willing to work for less than what they could get paid somewhere else because they wanted to support whatever they were doing, or there was some form of profit
Yes,
sharing
Shane, we
or
get it.
long-term
You know
vision.
a bunch of homos.
So, but I mean, I think overall the minimum wage needs to come up, and the reason it needs to come up is due to the fact that productivity at businesses and industry has gone up at a way faster rate than wages have increased. And we have a scenario where, my dad was making $10 an hour 40 years ago working in a sawmill, and now that same job pays $20 an hour. Well, if you look at inflation, you should be getting paid a hell of a lot more than double of what that wage should be. And that's the issue that I have, is that our cost of livings have increased. It's really fucking sad, really sad when our governments need to step in and tell employers you should be paying people better because they deserve to have a living wage. They deserve to not be like barely making enough to pay rent and have food on their table.
Corporations are not designed to be welfare charities. They're designed to make profit. And if there is no regulation, they will do whatever they can to make profit.
100%. That's the nature of capitalism. But still, I would like to believe in, maybe it's just, naivete on my part, but I would like to believe in like humans actually treating other humans with respect and not treating them like numbers. Right? Like it's really easy to look at at numbers and just say, well, just cross that line off.
That's not how it is. So we have to react to the world knowing how it works.
Yeah, and
that numbers are the bottom line.
And that's why having a increase in minimum wage to $15 an hour is a good idea.
Here's why you shouldn't raise the minimum wage.
You were just defending it.
No, I was just saying that, I understand the reasons of it, but here's why you shouldn't raise it. We are overpaying people for menial jobs. So let's say something that doesn't make a ton of money, but requires a lot of skill, like a paramedic. So let's say someone drives the back of EMT makes $23 an hour. It's not fair that someone who works at, Burger King makes $23 an hour as well. That's kind of separation. We need to.
Why?
Because the demand for that job of an EMT is higher than that of a demand of a job for Burger King.
But if they're both working the same amount of hours, and they both have to dedicate
skilled trade.
If we look at the value of life, and we look at the only finite resource we all have is time, they're still dedicating the same amount of time from one to the other.
Because the other person dedicated time as a student to learn, whereas the other one did not make any discernible skills that are transferable except for work experience. And even then, I want to replace all these. I think minimum wage, great, raise it so I can replace all their jobs with robots. Because no one won't get an order wrong at Tim Hortons every fucking time? A robot. No what will? A Filipino. And you all know how I feel about the Filipinos.
No need to bring race into this discussion. But the thing is, like, and I don't disagree with the merit of education and experience and paying people more and incentivizing. I think all of those things are great. My biggest problem with the way that our current minimum wage and payment structure to people comes down to the fact that people are making enough to actually survive.
Yeah, but these jobs are not designed to be your living wage for your life. They're not,
but the thing is, that's the problem. We don't have enough jobs anymore. There's not enough the jobs. If you look at how many jobs,
get a mechanical engineering degree and see how many people contact you the second you graduate.
The amount of jobs that are actually exist now that are well paying, that can move someone to be in the middle class or higher, has decreased. We now have way more service jobs. There's way more McDonald's. There's way more Starbucks. There's way more retail shops.
People don't cook for themselves.
So they don't cook for themselves. But at the same time, the manufacturing jobs that used to exist, the jobs that did pay well, that did pay $25 an hour in the 70s and 80s, these jobs that used to exist in North America and Canada and the US, they're gone.
Yeah.
All of those jobs have been outsourced to China.
Mexico,
so what's happened is all of the people that are now working have moved into service positions. They've all moved into service work. And that's the challenge. Like, traditionally, those jobs didn't pay well. Well, in most cases, people would work at those places so they could, get a better job or get an education to get a better job. but the amount of better jobs is decreasing. And the more we automate, we're going to have to move eventually to some form of either universal basic income or something, because once we have 30 or 40% unemployment, simply because if you take out, millions of jobs in transportation and millions of jobs in retail and service in terms of, fast food restaurants and all these other things, we're going to have just an epidemic of unemployed people. It's just going to be crazy. So we need to start thinking about it now. And like a minimum wage increase is only a temporary fix on that issue. And it's actually going to speed the increase at which automation takes place. Because I'll tell you, as somebody who for a living deals with implementing technical systems that automate processes
and
within
having sex
organizations.
with bears. Let's not downplay your role in the company.
Who implements technical systems that automate out different work and business processes, I can tell you, we do calculations for return on investment based on what it costs for the amount of labor versus what it costs for the robot.
Yeah.
And if the robot is cheaper than the labor, then you get the robot. And if you make the labor more expensive, then the robots just become more and more appealing. And that's what's happening right now. This is in all industries. This is happening.
Oh, dude, I once put 20 people out of work not that long ago by implementing a chatbot. So, I mean, I know exactly. I'm trying to build the robots that get rid of your jobs. That's my goal.
But we're not the only people doing this. Like, this is an industry now. There's an industry of business process automation.
Yeah, I'm super on board with it. I'm going to work my ass off to make sure every single truck that is at Syncrude and Suncor is automated, because I'm not losing one more person to that bullshit over fucking nothing. I don't care if it puts 1 million people out of jobs. I'm not losing another person to a goddamn truck-related accident at Syncrude. So that, that's my goal in life, is to automate every single one of those vehicles. Mm-hmm. And there will be growing pains. There'll be a lot of people that are going to be left with jobs. And did you make your point? May I have the final word?
You can have the final word.
So let's wrap up on this. There are people in the world. So let me back up a little bit. In the Bible, it says that you shouldn't eat oysters, right?
Never read it, but go on.
It's a good book. And some may say it's the good book. So in like the Torah and, specifically the Torah and the Old Testament, which are the same books. The Pentateuch is the same between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, by the way. But yeah, so in the original books, they said that you shouldn't eat oysters or shellfish, right? So people are like, why the fuck would they make these goddamn stupid rules? Well, the area they're in, the Mediterranean, they got this thing called red tide. And red tide was caused by algae blooms that would create a toxicity in the shellfish, because they would filter out this red algae, and that was toxic to humans. So if you ate the shellfish, you would get sick. So there's a lot of religious rules that seem like they're fucking stupid and arbitrary. Like, why can't we eat fucking oysters, you weirdo? But they actually have a reason, right?
Yeah, back in those days, it was don't eat this because you will die. It's
right.
just not applicable to modern day.
Yeah, and like a lot of these things are so vague, it took us thousands of years to figure out why the fuck they did that in the first place. So there are cultures that say that only men should work and women are to stay at home, create children, and propagate the family, correct?
Yeah, traditionally, yeah.
So even with these people, they are not encouraged to get educations. And these are usually people in rural areas who are Bedouins. But unfortunately, with Canada, because of the refugee program, we take in a lot of these people. Not the people from the cities who are educated, but a lot of people who don't really know what our society is like, and we take them in. Which is a good thing, because we save them from a bad situation. At the end of the day, regardless of the growing pains, it's a good thing. But there's a lot of values that these people hold that are not in line with what we hold. And it isn't because they're bad people. It is not due necessarily to ignorance, but it is due to the culture of how they were raised. Right? We think it's okay to spend all our money on buying a bunch of people gifts at an arbitrary time of year because they say so. If someone told an African to spend all your money on buying other people's shit at one time a year for no reason, they'd be like, get the fuck out of here. Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's just one of those things with culture. And because of that, these people take a lot of money from the government system because they require assistance. For example, there's people that are arguing, well, I can't support my family because I only make very low money. but these people also chose not to be educated for whatever reason. Let's say there were either lazy people here or culturally different people from abroad, and they start having lots of kids. And let's say that either is A, an irresponsible person here, or B, a cultural reason, because most of your kids would die back home and they have a culture of having a lot of kids back there. But either way, we're increasing the amount of mouths, amount of people that are living off these systems. By increasing things like the minimum wage, all other things come up in cost. So let's say, minimum wage. So one guy's making $10 an hour and he's going up to $15 an hour. And let's say inflation, because of that, increases by $3 an hour. Well, the guy that was making $25 an hour is not going to be getting $28 an hour or $30 an hour. He's still making $25 an hour. So to him, he's like, well, inflation went up. These people are getting more money, but I'm not seeing any return on it. It's hurting me. And then we also invite people into our culture that are unable to or don't choose to contribute to the society, that will live off of programs like this based around the amount of money they can make on a minimum wage job. For example, they'll push minimum wage high enough that, a couple parents can work a little bit and support a bunch of family, a large family. That'll encourage family growth as well, but possibly not in the sectors that we want. And it just becomes really messy. I'm not. Yeah, saying...
but the thing is, you're totally missing the point, though.
What's that?
Do you think people should work full time and not have enough to survive?
No, but I think that you should value the.
So do you think that people should work full time and not be paid enough to survive?
No, but you are able to survive on $10 an hour. Not well, but you can. Because your guys' definition of surviving is a lot different than ours. Ours is like, you got food on the table, you got somewhere to live, you got work to go to, you're good. How much is like, you don't have an Xbox? Okay. Oh, you need to raise the fucking minimum wage.
Okay, so if you make $10 an hour, okay, and you live in Vancouver, and your rent for your one-bedroom apartment is $1,800 a month.
Okay,
you can't do that. That doesn't work.
You got to move. It's kind of like what the settlers did. It's like, hey, rent in England's really high. They're like, we'll cross the ocean.
Yeah, of course. You move somewhere else, you find a better job, you do something else. That's what most normal people would do in those types of scenarios.
Those $10 jobs, that doesn't mean that those $10 jobs in Victoria or Vancouver should go away. Those jobs are perfectly suitable for people like students.
The problem, people aren't being paid enough for their work. That's just what it comes down to. I'm talking about everyone's jobs. I worked at a multinational corporation. I got paid a middling salary, and they didn't even give me inflationary wages every year. Okay, this is a company that makes hundreds of billions of dollars a year, and they didn't even pay me enough to give me inflation. That means that every year I continued to work for that corporation, I was making less money than the year before. I was actually making less money every year I chose to continue working at this organization. Mm-hmm. This is a systemic issue that we have amongst corporations right now. So
you think it should be in line with inflation, which I agree with.
I think
but there's also artificial jumps that could hurt the economy.
Yeah, there's tons of things, and I don't think it should be out of the ordinary for a corporation to be able to say to their staff, hey guys, we didn't do that well this year. Everyone's going to need to take a 5 to 10% pay cut, including all of the CEOs and CFOs and all of the stockholders. We're all going to take a hit this year. And everybody that's part of that company is totally on board because they love working there and it's an amazing place to work.
Have you seen the idea that CEOs take a cut to what the average employee makes and that money goes back into the salaries?
Sure. That's a great idea
so
too.
When let's say the average employee is making $50,000 a year and the CEO is making $1 million. Mm-hmm. So that year they don't perform, that CEO loses $950,000 that goes back into the company.
I haven't heard of that concept, but it sounds pretty intriguing.
I made it up, maybe. I'm drunk as fuck. But this wine has hit me hard.
The main thing for me, like, it comes down to the fact is I don't feel like anyone should work anywhere for 40 hours a week and not have enough money to survive. If you don't have enough money,
I do, especially if they're niggers. PewDiePie for life.
Okay, let's calm it down. If you don't make enough money to be able to pay your rent, pay for your food, pay for the necessities, and I do consider having access to the internet a necessity. Okay. If you don't have access to those three things by working 40 hours a week, that's completely unacceptable. There's no reason like places like Walmart.
Is that your employer's fault or your own fault, though?
it depends. Again, it's all depends on where you are, what your situation is. All of these factors come into play. But I really think that it comes down to like respecting people's time, respecting other human beings. This is just like, the issue that I have in terms of, like things like temporary foreign workers that come in, that they bring them in to work at places like Tim Hortons, to work at places like McDonald's, which artificially drives the wages down.
Yes.
In certain areas, those wages should actually naturally be going up.
Because the demand would be so low.
Exactly. This is supply and demand. But when you artificially deflate the demand for those types of staff, then those companies don't need to pay those higher wages.
For example, in Fort McMurray, because we couldn't get workers up there and they were so desperate, Burger King was willing to pay $18.75 starting to just work at Burger King.
Exactly. And that's
7.5.
That's how the economics work. That's how the economy is supposed to work. That's how capitalism is supposed to work.
But then we got a bunch of these fucking Filipinos flooding your country,
Stop
taking all the jobs. That's what you said. That is what you said.
It doesn't have to do with race.
It has to do with it. I'm going to summarize what you said.
It has to do with the policies.
Came in, took all our jobs.
No,
took our jobs.
It has to do with the policies that governments are passing based on the lobbying of corporations.
I agree. We shouldn't let Filipinos in this country. We've decided
we should stop the lobbying of corporations, allowing them to affect our public policy. Again,
no more temporary foreign workers.
I sure, okay,
Okay, but if you do that, do you know what happens to those people that come as temporary foreign workers? They save their lives. There's people back home who are literally starving to death. They have nothing. They have no hope, no future. That small amount that they make here that they can bring back home, they can start a business. They can get educated.
Yes, but they shouldn't be driving down the wages of jobs that people in Canada could be working at and doing. I'm not saying we need to get rid of the temporary foreign workers. There are things like working on farms and doing other things that it's totally reasonable to bring in temporary foreign workers. And I think the concept...
Tim Hortons is a low-end job. Why can't our low-end jobs be filled with temporary foreign workers?
That's the problem, Achilles. All of the jobs are becoming low-end jobs. The majority of our workforce is in the service industry.
Yeah.
And it's moving more and more in that direction.
Too bad they're not in the good service industry, because I would pay extra for a white person just to know what, hi, can I get an extra large steep tea with 2 cream, 1 honey, please? Means. I would pay literally $1 extra to just have to say that once per day.
That's why you go to Starbucks
9 times.
But the biggest thing for me, and this is kind of
your drink, by the way?
The main reason I wanted to bring this up is just I think that every single person, if they're willing to work and they're a hard worker and they're working 40 hours a week, they should be paid enough to have food, shelter, water, roof over their head, access to the internet, a phone. Like, this is not crazy things that we're talking about.
We allow the wages to act as the wages. We allow the economy to dictate the wages, because historically we've seen the government intervention to wages hurts the economy, right?
No, we haven't. We actually see that anytime that the minimum wage has been increased, the local economies have also increased, in causing more money to be spent locally and staying locally. And we actually see
but we've seen an overall decline, because we're only looking at the local ones, like things like, people that sell 5-cent candies. We're also talking about corporations who are losing a lot more money. We're talking about the overall economy. We know that declines when they pay their wages more. Because when companies pay less wages, they have more money to do things like expansions and new products and shit like that.
No, dude, look at Ford. Mm-hmm. Ford decided he needed to pay his staff enough money to be able to buy their vehicles.
Right.
When he started paying his warehouse workers and his workers in their plants that they were building the Ford cars in, when he started paying them enough money to buy his cars, they started buying his cars, and then there was competition for wages.
Yeah, but 1931 versus 2017.
So there was a labor competition. So the cards were now in the people's hands, because there was a competition to pay more people money, because you wanted them to come work for you, and you were trying to actually hire the best people
that
and
also
pay them more.
Requires a surplus of jobs, which we don't have.
That's 100%. That's the problem, is that the cards are no longer in labor's hands.
Exactly.
Because it's like labor's now fighting for table scraps at McDonald's.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're arguing here. So let's say this: we tax foreign workers a fair tax.
Okay.
So everything they own and nothing goes to the Philippines, specifically the Philippines.
All the money has to stay in Canada or anywhere except there.
Well, I mean, that's one of the biggest problems with foreign workers is that they take a lot of money out of the economy and they don't put it back in. They send it out.
Well, I would posit that the amount of money the foreign workers take out of the economy is minuscule compared to the amount of money that Apple takes out of our economy, the amount of money that Walmart takes out of our economy, the amount of money that Facebook takes out of our economy, the amount of money that Amazon takes out of our economy.
Hey, Shane, go buy a house in Vancouver from an Asian person and then tell me how that goes.
No, I don't have like $8
Touche,
million.
exactly, sir, exactly. Because it is, there's a lot of ways that foreign investment really fucks our economy. But there's also ways that it helps it. Creating artificial inflation, an unlivable state. I mean, look what happened. One of our best friends had to move across country because living in Vancouver was so expensive. He was unable to do it.
Well, I'll end with this. Do you know what the median wage in Canada is?
Yeah, I do.
Do you know what the median wage is?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the median wage?
The median wage as of 1996. Give me 1 second. 2011.
Just well,
0.45.
No, the median wage.
I'm looking at an actual chart right now. I have it open in front of me. It is 0.45.
No, the median wage is the wage at which you have just as many people making over that amount as you have people making under that amount.
Yeah, 0.45 is ours.
No, the median wage in Canada is $28,000.
No, sorry. Median wage versus is like the where. Okay, you're talking about the number amount of it. I'm talking about the percentage of population.
The median wage is the wage at which just as many people are making under that as they are making over.
People watching the video are going to see a chart that says medium wage, like literally the words, for developed economies in 2011, and see Canada at a 0.45. That means that more than 65% of the people are above the medium wage.
Like the median wage in Canada, not
you're talking about the numbers. Yes, okay, is $28,000, which is like what, like 30 cents an hour?
So no, that's not that low. But I mean, half of the population in Canada is making under that amount, and half of the population.
16 working at Rogers Video. I don't even know how it's possible.
And half of the population in Canada are making over that amount. So that is the wage that we're sitting at right now. That's the median wage in Canada.
I want poor people, or else I can't exploit women into sleeping with me if they don't think they have a financial incentive.
And this is the challenge I have in talking to a lot of my friends and a lot of people, is that they don't realize that the reality that over 15 million Canadians are making $28,000 a year or less. And those are the people that would actually, this $15 minimum wage would help.
Ironically, that's the exact number of Filipinos in Canada. That's coincidence, Shay.
This isn't gonna change anything for me. This isn't gonna change anything for you. This is just gonna help out people that are just barely making enough to survive. It's a tricky
issue, right? There is two sides of this argument. I think both sides have a fair point. You raise the minimum wage, it helps the local economy, it hurts the corporations, but by doing that, it also encourages corporations to leave, right? We've seen that with things like, they want to unionize a Walmart. They shut down the fucking Walmart. They're like, fuck you. There's places where they want to raise the minimum wage in places like Seattle and stuff. They shut down the Walmart and made it delivery only.
If they can't pay people enough to survive, to have food, shelter, and water, then close your goddamn business.
That's an interesting way to put it, but we also sacrifice, like, by not having things like
we
Amazon
should not be
Walmart,
slaves to corporations.
Yes, but by not having things like Amazon or Walmart, I can't get a pressure washer for my deck for under $100. But no, these are real things, right?
No, but I don't disagree with that. But I think they can still do it and not pay people poverty wages, right? Like I
think you're over exaggerating poverty wages. I think our minimum wage in Canada considerably double what America is.
It's province to province.
Yeah, but I mean, even our average minimum wage is around $12 an hour,
yeah,
right?
And Alberta is a unique place in terms of Canada.
Well, Canadian Labor Code says it's going up to $12.
It's going up to 15. Alberta is on.
I know Alberta is specifically, but the Bill C-448, the Canadian Labor Code, regulated minimum wage will be set to at federal level will be set to $12 an hour, meaning no province can go below $12 an hour for the minimum wage.
There you go.
I'm stumbling too much, man. I'm slurring my words.
That's $24,000 a year. What can
I
you
can't
do?
talk about poor people. It's making me sad and horny.
All right, that's it. I said my piece. I just want everyone to be treated fair. That's all.
So
Anyway.
the news of the minimum wage going to $15 an hour, we agree, is sheet.
Sweet.
All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. Let's give our Netflix recommendations before we leave. What do you recommend the people watch this week?
Watch Glow.
Ooh, interesting choice.
Watch Glow.
Big fan of 80s and professional wrestling back then, and as well as the main character whose name I'm blanking on.
Allison Brie killed it.
Allison Brie. Oh my God, she's the hottest girl on the planet, is she not? I agree. She is the hottest. I want you guys all to know that Shane typed me a message while he wasn't responding. He said, "I would murder my girlfriend on the steps of the White House if I could smell her panties."
Did not
That's
say
what
that.
he wrote. I'm just the messenger. This is really fun. What do you think was the most interesting story we talked about, though?
The most interesting story that we talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I was surprised how interesting the JJ Abrams thing came, because it really hit a lot of deep notes for me.
True, we kind of went down into a place that I wasn't expecting us to talk that long about it, but it definitely shed some light on our opinions on the Star Wars universe.
It's almost like this podcast is about movies sometimes.
Sometimes it is.
Oh man, where can they find you online, Shane?
You can find me at Dr. Raffle.
Oh, I see what you're doing. You're making a decision right now, huh? Real fucking brave yesterday, not so much today. And then Thunder comes out, the bravery goes down. This was PG.
It was?
It wasn't that bad. I mean, I think we talked about all fair points. Although jokes were made, we did handle them sensitively and explained why, things should be the way they are. Even if we did have a bit of fun with it. I think that's all that matters.
All right. And where can we find you, Achilles?
At Achilles on Twitter, because I'm an OG. You can also find me at ROFLcast. You can go to visit us at ROFLcast.com. Subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and other places. Is there anything you'd like to plug, like a personal vlog series or anything?
Nope, absolutely nothing.
There's definitely not a personal blog series that you should definitely watch immediately because there's really good content.
Definitely not a personal blog series. No
reason. There's no, I can't give them a specific URL to go see those.
No, nope, you can't.
All right, so my recommendation this week is to go watch It. I thought it was a very fun movie. You'll have a good time. The scares are pretty good. I thought the jump scares are unnecessary, but if you're into that, you'll enjoy it. And if you're not, there's actually a really good story for you to enjoy. So there's a little bit for everyone. I love you all. You have beautiful smelling vaginas. They smell like sandalwood and rare mint. I think that Shane developed a vagina in the last week or so. And most importantly, I'm glad that poor people are staying poor. And I hope you guys all vote that way too. Because at the end of the day, what this podcast is about segmenting the population by race and by financial status.
Man, you're an ass.
I love you so much. Thanks all for listening. Until next time, Rivermaid Podcast. That was beautiful. That was great.